My name is Randy Bigley. Joining me on the podcast right now from the Crawford County Veterans Services, Mike Amsbaugh. How you doing, Mike?
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
Very good.
We were talking before we went on the recording here about all the commercials that you're seeing now for Camp Lejune. If you were there, right. And you said you watched an hour of TV. It's all 12 of them.
Hour of TV. Wasn't Maury,
yeah.
But it was. There were 12.
Wow.
And so all of these, there's been a plethora of benefits that, and I say benefits, changes to benefits recently, and they all depend upon presumptive service connection. Camp Lejune is one, the PACT Act is one. All of these things require that. So presumptive service connection is because of where you served or when you served or what you did when you served, there's a presumption that you had an injury. So the most common one is Vietnam veterans served in Vietnam, presumptive service connection for Agent Orange exposure. Now, there's also veterans who served off the coast of Vietnam in the Navy. The law was changed, and they're now also considered to be presumptively service connectable. So based on that, then the VA produces a list. We have this list for Camp Lejune for contaminated water. There's a list for Gulf War. There's a list for POWs. There's a list for Vietnam. So if you participated in the nuclear testing back in the 50s and 60s, there's a list. So if you served during that time or your job required you to do those things, there's a list. And the way it works is if you develop one of the conditions on the list, then the VA assumes that that condition was caused by your service. They service connect it, and then the only question then becomes, how serious is the condition? What percentage should be assigned to it? So all of these commercials that I see and all of the information that's out there neglect to say there's a list. These conditions have to be, you have to have one of these conditions to receive a benefit. So like Camp Lejune, you have to have been there for so many days. You have to have one of the conditions on the list. And then, and only then, if you meet both of those criteria, you can receive a benefit through the VA. I don't know of any class action lawsuits or anything that are being done outside of that. But as far as the VA goes, you have to meet those prerequisite criteria in order to receive a benefit. So Camp Lejune is the big one, and then the PACT Act. That's that's in the news too, and that's really important because it expands what a veteran can receive if they were exposed. So it expands. It actually adds a couple of things to exposure to Agent Orange. It adds a bunch of stuff to the OEF, OIF, Persian Gulf presumptives. It talks about expanding VA healthcare services for those individuals. It talks about maybe having re-examinations at future dates, just to make sure that the person, if they don't have anything, that they still don't. Just continue to take a look. If they do have something that's on the list, just to keep following that. But yeah, those are the big things.
If someone has, maybe they hear a commercial and they have a question, they can usually always get a hold of you if they have any questions.
Oh yes,
right?
So that's the best thing is, I'm sure that these law firms have thrown millions of dollars at slick advertising.
Right, sure they are.
You can give us a call and we can give you the same answer. You don't need to hire an attorney. But if you do have a question, you do need to call because there's a lot of information out there. It's just not the complete picture.
Right. I'm getting emails about Camp Lejune, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, advertising emails. Were you in?
Yeah.
Just yeah. So it's everywhere. I mean,
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, it was 12 commercials.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I pay attention to the commercials, and none of them talked about presumptive service connection.
Right.
None of them talked about, hey, there's a list. These conditions you have to have one of the conditions. So you could luck out. You could have served at Camp Lejune or served, OEF, OIF.
Right.
You could have served, post 9/11 or Vietnam or Persian Gulf. You could have served in one of those presumptive eras and gotten out of it without any problems.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. But if you didn't and you have a condition and it's on the list, then there's compensation available.
Yeah.
And we can help you do that.
We've talked before, you can find help for a lot of things that you may not know, medical or whatever, that you may not know you can get help with.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The VA, the healthcare they're having some teething problems, but that's predominantly caused by the VA switching over to a new computer system.
Right.
But that aside, the healthcare is really very good.
But it's gotten a lot better, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in the time that I've done this, the healthcare has continually improved.
Yeah.
It's not the same VA healthcare that it was even in the 80s or even in the 90s. It's completely different.
Right.
So, now if somebody says, hey, I need a wheelchair or I need a walker, if they're enrolled in the VA, they can go to their primary care physician and get one given to them by the VA. They don't have to, try it. Well, I think my neighbor has one.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think I saw one at the rummage sale. They don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
The VA will give you a new one.
Nice. That's the way it should be too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's really pretty comprehensive. It's really pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the presumptives, the healthcare. I mean, there's all kinds of benefits.
And if they have any questions, they can always get a hold of you. And how can they do that?
Well, you can call my office Monday through Friday between 8 and 4, and our number is 419-562-7761.
You're in the county building, right?
Yes, we are. We're located in the courturhouse in the administration side, in the lower level. So everyone says, "Oh, I'm in the basement." No. There's one level below us. We're in the lower level. The basement is below that.
Right.
But there's only 2 offices down there. It's us and the Board of Elections. So it's like flipping a coin. You've got a 50-50 chance.
We'll get you right there, and even if you go to the wrong place.
Yeah. If you have a bunch of people sitting behind the counter looking at you strangely when you ask about VA benefits, you've hit the wrong office.
Right. Exactly. All right, Mike. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And I really appreciate it.
And again, don't jump on those ads. I mean,
no. Those, they're designed to get you to call.
Yeah.
They're designed to get people through the door. And then, if the law firm is legitimate, when that veteran or that widow or widower call, once they get the facts of the matter, the veteran served here but the veteran didn't die because of this. Then if they're legitimate, they should say, there isn't a benefit, and they should explain why. If they're not, they may go ahead and take that person on as a client and then bill them when there isn't anything that's received.
Wow.
So, there's a lot of not misinformation, just not complete information out there.
Well, these are the same lawyers the one for the car accidents too.
Oh yeah, probably. Well, it's the same. It's the same bunch that they're if you have a Kia, apparently there's some thing where Kias are being stolen at record numbers, and there's all these law firms that are trying to have a class action lawsuit against Kia. I bought a Kia. Well, you might be entitled to compensation.
Yeah, that's what you're looking at. And the word is you might be.
Right, you might be. So I mean, there's a lot of information out there. It's not that it's malicious. It's not that someone is not telling you the entire truth.
Right.
It's just that there's more to it than give me a call and you can get money.
All right, Mike. Well, thank you so much.
Hey, no problem. Thank you for having me.